Hi, welcome to Virtual CB1A. This is Miss Rena, and for today's video discussion on plane and solid geometry, we will be focusing on section 3.5 using properties of parallel lines. So, to start our lesson, we are going to start with the topic using parallel lines in real life. Please take a look at this figure. So, you will see there a team of female rowers. So when a team of rowers competes, each rower keeps his or her oars parallel to the adjacent rower's oars. So dapat daw yung mga rower na magkalapit, yung mga sagwan nila parallel to one another. So if any two adjacent oars on the same side of the boat are parallel, does this imply that any two oars on that side are parallel? So disregard muna natin tong isang side ha. So focus lang muna tayo dito sa isang side of the boat. So yan, may isang side lang tayo. This question is examined below. Example 1 justifies theorem 3.11 and you will prove theorem 3.12 in exercise 38. So, punta tayo dun sa given na example. This is example number 1. Let me just copy it and then explain it step by step. Okay. So we have example 1, proving two lines are parallel. Let's compare them side by side. Here, as I've said earlier, we are only going to focus on one side of the figure. Ayan. So, kalahati nung boat. Isang side lang ng rowers yung concern natin. So, this line here, the yellow line, will serve as our transversal. And then, of course, the oars, ito, yung mga sagwan nila, these are going to be the lines K, N, and M. Now, the given is, lines M, N, and K represent three of the oars above, and M is parallel to N, and N is parallel to K. We have to prove that M is also parallel to K. Obviously, isang tingin pa lang, M is parallel to N is parallel to K. May common element sila, which is line N. May clue na tayo kaagad that the property of the equation that we are going to use will be the transitivity property of equality or transitive property of equality. So let's look at the solution here. The given is M is parallel to N and N is parallel to K. We have to prove that M is parallel to K. In our solution, we use the two-column proof. Pero sabi ko nga, free kayo na gamitin kung ano man yung klase ng proof na gusto nyo. Pwedeng diagram, yung may mga arrow, o kaya pwede rin naman na textual by paragraph. Pwede rin naman na katulad nito na two-column proof. This is our outline of the proof. As is tayo, we will always begin our proof with the given. So the given is M is parallel to N. M is parallel to N. If M is parallel to N, then angle 1 is parallel or angle 1 is congruent to N. Paano yun nangyari? Because we have the property corresponding angles postulate. So, since parallel si M at saka si N and they were cut by a line, the transversal here, yung yellow line natin dito sa kabilang figure, you will end up with corresponding angles 1 and 2. And they are congruent. Now, let's focus on the other given. We have N is parallel to K. Reason natin given. And same tayo ng reasoning 2 is congruent to 3 because of the corresponding angles postulate. I-relate na natin sila sa isa't isa. Since angle 1 is congruent to 2 and angle 2 is congruent to angle 3, we can say that angle 1 is also congruent to angle 3 through the transitive property of hindi na equality because we are talking about congruence. So we will say transitive property of congruence instead of transitive property of equality. Now let's go to the final step. Lagi nating tinatapos yung proof natin pag nakita na natin yung element na kailangan nating i-prove. M is parallel to K through the corresponding angles converse. We discussed corresponding angles converse dun sa mga nakaraang video natin. Now, let's continue. Ayan, na-prove na natin siya. Let's continue to the theorems. So, we will introduce 2 new theorems here. So, si theorem 3.11, na-prove na natin siya through this kasi parehas sila ng case. If 2 lines are parallel to the same line, then they are parallel to each other. P is parallel to Q, Q is parallel to R, therefore P is parallel to R. Transitive property of congruence and corresponding angles converse. If you are going to draw a transversal here, you are going to end up with corresponding angles and you will be employing the transitive property of congruence and corresponding angles converse. Okay? Ito exercise daw to si Theorem 3.12, kung paano siya ipoprove. Pero, ganito lang din naman yung tatakbuhin niya. So, in a plane, if 2 lines are perpendicular to the same line, then they are parallel to each other. So, perpendicular, corresponding angles natin, congruent sila, parallel daw si M at si N. Because you have 2 angles on the same side of the transversal that are non-adjacent and congruent. One is interior, the other is an exterior. Now, let's focus on example 2. Puro tayo real life situations. Explaining why steps are parallel. This is also similar to the oars. Ano lang yung pinagkaiba niya? Imbis na 3 lang yung i-compare, meron na tayong 4 na elements. So, in the diagram at the right, each step is parallel to the step immediately below it. So, si K sub 1 ay parallel kay K sub 2. Si K sub 2 ay parallel kay K sub 3. At si K sub 3 ay parallel kay K sub 4. Now, is K sub 1 parallel to K sub 4? Let's check. Hindi 2-column proof yung ginamit natin dito. Gagamit tayo ng paragraph. Let's start with stating the given. You are given that K sub 1 is parallel to K sub 2. And K sub 2 is parallel to K sub 3. Kasi immediately below it. By transitivity of parallel lines, we know that K sub 1, here, the top step, is parallel to K sub 3 or the first step. Meron na tayong K sub 1 is parallel to K sub 3. Since K sub 1 is parallel to K sub 3 and K sub 3 is parallel to K sub 4, kasi ang sabi, it is parallel to the step immediately below it. Ang nasa ilalim ni K sub 3 ay si K sub 4. Parallel silang dalawa. Since K sub 1 is parallel to K sub 3, K sub 1 is parallel to K sub 4, again, through transitivity of parallel lines. Okay? I hope that was clear. So, dito, ganun lang din naman yung idea. So, I am not going to discuss this. Instead of paragraph at saka 2-column proof, ang ginamit dito, yung arrow diagram natin. Ayan. May outline tayo ng proof and then connected sila by arrows. Now, gusto ko tong i-demonstrate kung paano siya ginagawa. So, copying an angle, use these steps to construct an angle that is congruent to a given angle A. So, first, draw a line, label a point on the line D. Next, draw an arc with center A, label B and C. So, kung saan yung makakat niya dun sa original na angle, with the same radius, draw an arc with center D, label E. Para malinaw siya, copy natin siya dun sa ating viewboard. And then, I will show you how it is done. Hopefully, kaya nyo pa siyang basahin. Parang readable pa naman siya pag ganyan kaliit. Palakihin ko nga. Ba't ganun nawala? Kiss me in the shower for a couple hours. Never told me you're the only half of me. Yan, ganito yung gawin natin para readable pa rin siya. At may space tayo for the construction. So, our first step is to draw, syempre, yung pattern natin na angle. Drawing muna tayo ng isang angle. Okay, drawing tayo ng angle na gagayahin natin. Okay. For example, this is the angle that we are going to copy. So, this is angle A. First, let's draw a line. And then, from this line, mag-choose tayo ng isang point. So, kahit saan dyan. For example, ito. Ito yung point na magiging vertex ng ating angle. So, let's label this point D. Now, from the vertex A, bababa ko siya ng konti. So, from the vertex A, kahit gaano kahaba yung gusto mong line, okay lang. Basta sakop pa rin siya nung side ng angle mo. I suggest na wag masyadong mahaba. Wag ganito. If you want your angle to be this big, mga half, okay na yon, or more than half, mga ganito. Yan. And then from here, draw a curve intersecting both sides. So, draw tayo ng curve. Gawin natin siyang kulay yellow. Medyo faint lang. Ayan. So, meron tayo ditong magiging dalawang point. Tawagin natin silang point B and point C. Okay? And then, without adjusting your compass, C, parehas pa rin siya ng distance, ipa-plot nyo siya ngayon from the vertex D, tapos magdodraw ka rin ng curve. Or magdodraw ka rin ng arc. So, drawing tayo ng arc. It doesn't matter kung gaano kalaki nyo gusto yung arc. Just make sure na it will intercept your line segment. Itong kulay red na segment natin dito, containing D. Basta mahahagip niya yon, okay na. So, hindi natin kailangan ng sobrang malaki. So, siguro ganito lang yung idodrawing ko. Ang target lang naman natin, makuha yung point of intersection of the curve and our line. So, we will know how far A is from B. Tapos, gagayahin natin siya dun sa susunod natin na line. Ayan. Magka-size sila, magkasukat sila. So, this is now point E. Yung equal ang measurement with AB. So, we have segment AB equal to DE. After this, susukatin natin yung distance from B to C using our compass. So, ilalagay natin yung ating pangtusok, yung center, papunta dito sa C. Yan. Ganito siya kahaba. Right? Okay, now that we already know how far C is from B or B is from C, ganun din yung gagawin natin kay E. So, maggagawa rin tayo ng... Ay, teka, hindi ko Wait lang Hindi ko kukuha kasi yung point of intersection. So, palalakihin ko lang ng konti yung nandito. Nagkamali ako ng estimate. Palalakihin ko lang to ng konti. Di ba DE? I-extend ko lang ng konti C. Letter E. Ay. Hindi kasi siya aabutin. Yan. Extend lang natin siya ng konti. Siguro enough na to. So that it will cover the arc na same ang measurement with BC. Ayan. Ito yung measurement from B and C, right? So, dito, gagawa rin tayo from point E ng curve intersecting our yellow curve here. Gawin natin siyang kulay green. So, drawing tayo ng curve. Yan. So, yung point of intersection nila, this one, this is going to be the point on your other side of the angle. Ito yung ating point F. All we have to do is to draw a line passing through D and F. Yan. Drawing tayo ng line here. This is now our angle D, which is congruent to A. So that is how you construct an angle congruent to another angle using your compass and straight edge or ruler. Angle A is congruent to angle D. Okay? That will be it. If I'm not mistaken, we will be moving forward with the slope na. So, dito sa parallel lines, hindi ko na siya i-discuss. Almost similar lang din naman dun sa ginawa natin kanina. All you have to do is to make use of a ruler and a compass. I suggest you try doing this as well. So, check lang natin kung magmo-move na tayo sa panibagong section kasi feeling ko next section na tayo, which is the slope. Ayun, oo. Parallel lines in coordinate plane. We will be starting with section 3.6. Di ko muna ikakat yung video, diretso tayo. So, parallel lines in the coordinate plane. We will start with slope of parallel lines. If you are still familiar with the idea of slopes, ang slope has something to do with the steepness of the line. And it is denoted by the small letter m, and it is all about the ratio of the rise over the run. Or, it is about the change in y over the change in x. So, change in y, or the vertical change, over the change in x, or the horizontal change. So how are we going to compute for the horizontal change and the vertical change? We have here a formula. Copy natin dito yung figure so we can elaborate it better. So yung y sub 2 minus y sub 1 natin dito, which is the rise, ito yung vertical change. Paano siya naging vertical change? So, pagka sinabi nating vertical, patayo. So, ano yung naging change niya? Vertically. Tumaas ba siya? Bumaba ba siya? Or gaano kalayo yung itinaas niya, gaano kalayo yung ibinaba niya. Taas-baba lang pag vertical change. Now, for the run, ito naman ay to the left or to the right. Horizontal, pahiga yung line. So, this is the horizontal change or the run. So, ilang units yung ipinunta niya sa kaliwa or ilang units yung ipinunta niya sa kanan. Now, for the whole slope, you are going to compute for the units na nag-rise siya at saka sa units na nag-run siya using this formula. So, the rise is y sub 2 minus y sub 1, meaning for the slope m, ang formula natin ay y sub 2 minus y sub 1, tapos sa baba, x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Take note that hindi ibig sabihin na nasa taas, lagi na siyang x sub 2, y sub 2. Pwede mo yang i-interchange. Pwede natin itong isulat as x sub 1, y sub 1. As long as magka-partner yung parehas ng subscript, yung parehas ng number sa baba, okay lang yon. Ganon din dito sa kabila. Kung ito ay x sub 1 na, hindi na siya pwede maging x sub 1. So, you can denote this as x sub 2, y sub 2. As long as x sub n is paired with y sub n, basta para sila ng subscript at isang x, isang y, valid yun. So, let's have an example. Again, this is a real-life example. Finding the slope of train tracks. So, kung mapapansin nyo dito, hindi na natin kailangan mag-compute. Kasi meron na siya kaagad na predetermined na vertical change or rise at saka horizontal change or run. So, ang gagawin lang natin ay substitute natin sila sa isa't isa. So, y minus y, yun yung 4. We have 4 feet, yung rise natin. And then, for the run, we have 10 feet. 4 divided by 10 is 0.4. So, that's it. Let's have another example. So, finding the slope of a line. Ayan. So, find the slope of the line that passes through the points 0, 6, and 5, 2. Para madali ang illustration, kopyahin ko na lang din dito yung figure natin. But even if without a figure, kayang-kaya nyo yung i-compute. Let's write here our formula. Y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Let's choose our x sub 1, y sub 1, y sub 2, x sub 2, y sub 2. So, halimbawa, ito yung gusto natin maging x sub 1, y sub 1. Tapos, ito yung gusto natin maging x sub 2, y sub 2. Substituting our values, we are going to have 2 minus 6 over 5 minus 0. We have 2 minus 6 is negative 4 over 5 minus 0 is 5. So, ito yun. Ayan. 4, negative 4 and 5. Question. Ma'am, paano po kung ito yung gusto kong maging x sub 2, y sub 2, ito yung gusto kong maging x sub 1, y sub 1. Will I arrive with the same answer? Yes, of course. So, using this one, x sub 2, y sub 2, and x sub 1, y sub 1, we will have 6 minus 2 and 0 minus 5. 6 minus 2 is 4. 0 minus 5 is negative 5. Sabi, hala ma'am, bakit dito yung taas ang negative? Ba't dito yung baba ang negative? Don't worry about it because we have the rule in fraction that a over b is equal to a over negative b, which is also equal to the negative a over b. Parehas lang yan. So, ang sinasabi lang dito, kung yung kabilang side ang titingnan mo, kopyahin natin to ulit ah. Kung yung kabilang side ang iyong i-consider, dito, pwede kang magkaroon ng negative 5 kasi pupunta siya sa kaliwa. Paano mangyayari yun? Meron siya dito, ito, which is negative 5 kasi papunta siya sa kaliwa. Tapos ito, imbis na papupunta sa baba, papataas naman siya, which is positive 4. So, instead na nag-focus ka dun sa taas ng line, nag-focus ka ngayon dun sa baba ng line. Ang naging movement niya, pakaliwa at pataas, instead na pakanan, tas pababa. Okay? Okay. So, parehas lang to. Parehas lang yung sagot na to. Parehas tong valid. You can use the slopes of two lines to tell whether the lines are parallel. May postulate tayo dito, in a coordinate plane, two non-vertical lines are parallel if and only if they have the same slope. Any two vertical lines are parallel. Kasi kapag vertical, parehas sila nakatayo, di ba? Parehas nakatayo, vertical line, Ang slope nito, parehas ay undefined. 'Di ba? Pataas lang sila ng pataas. Hindi sila lalakad pa kaliwa o pa kanan. Lagi silang parallel. Ganon din kapag both horizontal lines, yun namang may slope na 0. Parallel din yan lagi. Now, let's see. Deciding whether the lines are parallel. Find the slope of each line. Is J sub 1 parallel to J sub 2? Let's look at the graph. Okay. Punta muna tayo sa slope ng J sub 1. Lagay muna natin dito ay J sub 1 slope. So, we have M is equal to, ang rise niya ay 4. Ang run niya ay 2. I-reduce natin siya sa lowest term. Ito'y equal sa 2 times 2 over 1 times 2. You are going to have 2 over 1 or 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2. Paano naman si J sub 2? Si J sub 2 ay may slope na rise ay 2 at run ay 1. 2 divided by 1, 2 rin siya. So, the slopes of J sub 1 and J sub 2 are equal. Therefore, J sub 1 and J sub 2 are parallel. Or in symbol, J sub 1 is parallel to J sub 2. Okay? Okay. Now, let's identify parallel lines. In this case, we are going to compute using the coordinates of the lines. Ayan. So, how can we know whether they are parallel or not? So, visually, mukha silang parallel sa isa't isa, di ba? But, let's check their slopes. Let's start with the slope of K sub 1. So, for K sub 1, again, ang gagamitin pa rin natin ay M is equal to y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Gawin natin siyang uniform. Lahat ng mga nasa taas, yun na lang yung gawin natin x sub 2, y sub 2. Okay? So, kay k sub 1, lagi tayo ng mga colors. This is x sub 2, y sub 2. This is x sub 1, y sub 1. Punta tayo kay K sub 2. Ito yung x sub 2 natin, ito yung y sub 2 natin, and ito yung x sub 1 natin, ito yung y sub 1 natin. Kay K sub 3, ito yung x sub 2, ito yung y sub 2, ito yung x sub 1, ito yung y sub 1. Let's start with k sub 1. Si k sub 1, the slope is equal to x sub 2, y sub 2, x sub 1, y sub 1. So, focus muna tayo kay y sub 2, which is 6. And then, y sub 1 niya, which is 0. Sa denominator, we have x sub 2 is 0. X sub 1 is 2. This is equal to 6 divided by negative 2, or 6 divided by negative 2 is negative 3. Ang ibig sabihin daw niya, for every time na magra-rise ka or magda-down ka ng negative 3, magra-run ka pa kanan ng isa. So, check natin. Isa, dalawa, tatlo, punta sa kanan ng isa. Tama. So, this is negative 3, 1. Tapos, baba ka ulit ng tatlo. Isa, dalawa, tatlo, mapupunta ka sa kanan ng 1. So, negative 3, 1. Or all in all, meron kang 6 na pagtaas. Pwede rin yon. Tataas ka ng 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yan, tumaas ka ng 6. Tapos pupunta ka sa kaliwa 2 times. 1, 2. So the slope is negative 3. Let's go to the second problem. Our second problem is k sub 2. Hanapin natin ang kanyang slope. The slope of k sub 2 is, again, y sub 2 muna tayo, 6 minus y sub 1, 1, over x sub 2, edi negative 2, x sub 1, 0, minus 0. 6 minus 1 is 5. Negative 2 minus 0 is still negative 2. Check natin yung property niya. So, pagka tumaas daw siya ng 5 beses, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yan, tumaas siya ng 5 beses. Pupunta siya sa kaliwa 2 times. 1, 2. Okay, so tama yung slope natin. Tama rin yung slope natin dito. Now, are k sub 1, k sub 2 parallel? No, they are not parallel. K sub 1 and k sub 2 are not parallel because they don't have the same slope. Let's check for k sub 3. Baka maging parallel siya sa isa man dun sa dalawa. K sub 3, masyado siyang malabo. Ito. K sub 3, the m is equal to x sub 2 natin, y sub 2 natin, x sub 1, y sub 1. So, y sub 2 is 5. Y sub 1 is 0. 5 minus 0 siya. For the denominator x sub 2 minus x sub 1, we have negative 6 minus negative 4. Be careful with the sign. So here, we have double negative. So mag-change yung ating operation to addition. This is 5 minus 0 is still 5. This is going to be negative 6 plus 4, which will give you 5 over negative 2. So kapag ka daw tataas siya ng 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, lalakad siya ng 2 beses pakaliwa. Now, is k sub 1 parallel to k sub 3? No. K sub 1 and k sub 3 are again not parallel because they don't have the same slope. How about k sub 2 and k sub 3? K sub 2 and k sub 3 are parallel because they have the same slope. So, k sub 2 is parallel to k sub 3. Okay? Okay. I hope that was clear. Okay. So, This time, we are going to write equations of parallel lines. But please just give me a moment. I will be back in a minute. Okay, so for writing equations of parallel lines, we are going to use the format slope-intercept form of linear equations. Ito ay dinidiscuss sa algebra. The slope-intercept form of a linear equation is given as y is equal to mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept, or it is the point on which your line will intersect the y-axis. So, halimbawa, meron ka ditong isang line. Ayan. Ito yung ating Cartesian coordinate plane. Ito yung ating line, say for example, line N. And the slope of line N is equal to, halimbawa, 5. And the point of intersection of your y-axis and your line is in 3. Halimbawa, nasa 3 siya. What is the slope-intercept form of this line? Or ano yung equation nitong line in slope-intercept form? It is y is equal to, so m, the slope is 5. And then, affix mo lang yung x. What about b? B is the point of intersection of your line and the y-intercept, which is 3. So the equation of this line, line L, is y is equal to 5x plus 3. Okay? Okay. Now, meron tayong problem dito. We are going to write an equation of a line through the point 2, 3 that has the slope of 5. Okay, so how can we do this? We are going to determine the point of intersection of our line with 0. So, write an equation of the line through the point 2, 3 that has the slope of 5. Okay. So, M, sulat muna natin yung given. M is equal to 5. What about B? How can you find the value of B? So, take note that we have Y is equal to 5x plus b. Hahanapin na lang natin si b. And we already have the values for x and y. Mapupunta siya sa 2 and 3. So, substitute na natin yung value natin for x and y. We have y is equal to 3, which is equal to the slope 5 times the x-coordinate 2 plus b. Solve natin si b. Simplify. 3 is equal to 5 times 2 is 10 plus b. b is equal to 3 minus 10. Tama. So, using addition property of equality. 3 minus 10 is negative 7. Ito siya. Okay? Okay. So, sulat na natin yung buo nating equation. So, from y is equal to 5x plus b, since alam na natin ngayon si b, this is now y is equal to 5x minus 7. Ayan. This is the slope-intercept form of our equation, or this is the slope-intercept form of our line that passes through negative 7 and has the slope 5. Let's check if there are other examples given in our book. If there are any, we are going to demonstrate them. Mm. Okay, writing an equation of a parallel line. Sige, copy natin to. Given n sub 1 has the equation y is equal to negative 1/3 x minus 1. Line n sub 2 is parallel to n sub 1 and passes through the point 3, 2. Write an equation of n sub 2. So, ano ang slope ni n sub 1? Ang slope ni n sub 1 is negative 1/3. Since n sub 1 is parallel to n sub 2, the slope of n sub 2 is also negative 1/3. So, pag sinulat natin siya sa y is equal to mx plus b, meron din tayong y is equal to negative 1/3 x plus b. Ang hahanapin na lang natin ay yung point kung saan dumaan si n sub 2. So, dito parang 1, 2, 3. Parang sa 3 siya dadaan, di ba? But let's check if it will really pass through 3. Meron tayong given point dito, ordered pair 3, 2. Si ordered pair 3, 2, yung magsisilbi nating x and y. So, let's substitute them dito sa dalawang to. Yan. So, y is equal to 2. And x is equal to 3 plus b. So, 2 is equal to negative 1 times 3 is negative 3 over 3 plus b. Negative 3 divided by 3 is negative 1 plus b. We have 2 plus 1 is equal to b, so 3 is equal to b. Now that we already know the value of b, substitute na natin siya dito. We have y is equal to negative 1/3 x plus 3. This is the equation of the line parallel to n sub 1 with the equation y is equal to negative 1/3 x minus 1. Okay? Okay. Let's continue. Ay, tapos na. Tapos na siya. So, check natin yung susunod na topic. If it is closely related to slopes pa rin, hindi ko ikakat yung video. Mukhang kinakaya pa naman siya ng laptop ko. Ay, hindi na. So, tapos na tayo sa parallel lines. Next, 3.7, perpendicular lines naman tayo. Ibubukod ko na to ng video. Thank you for listening and see you next time. Bye!